So, yes, I am back, and it's been longer than I thought, but I actually did record two other videos that I couldn't post because when I went to do it, it had no sound. But I'm almost positive I fixed that issue, and things been crazy. I just can't catch a break in any front, and it's not from lack of, trying. There's been some deception. Well, right now, one front, there's incompetence that, on the work front, it's incompetence at a higher level. It's being sorted out, but, takes time to fix habits and, things will be back to where they should be, but I got people working on that actually. Yeah. Personal life, ugh. Always third parties intervening and timing's for cowards. But, and also the change I had to make, semi recently because of blatant double standards and favoritism and cronyism. And give me credit, I played by the rules and followed the system. Now the system blatantly failed me. I mean, the system even acknowledged that I was right, but then failed to, to hold other people accountable because they were in management, which really, really puzzles me because I spent like over a decade in management and I was always held to a higher standard than my subordinates. I wasn't had infallibility that would make the Pope, envious, which says something. Anyway, I'm going to speak on a topic of witchcraft philosophy, which I've been asked to. We're going to start doing a lot of this. This one is on breaking the chains of comparison. Okay. So, in order to have free will and to break your chains, this also helps you recover from narcissistic abuse. You have to get over the obsession of comparison. In other words, living your life based on what others tell you to. In other words, like, well, so-and-so's doing this and so-and-so. Basic, boomer narcissism 101, keeping up with the Joneses. If you're my age or, 10, 15 years older, you were likely raised by boomer parents. That's what they lived for, or one of the few things they lived for, that and trying to live in their youth. So this idea of comparison, that you have to follow somebody else's path based on the, so profound boomer logic of that's what you're supposed to do, says who? Questions, you just do. It's boomer. So breaking that chain can be hard. That conditioning to, you have to please others, and competition good, but you have to be competing for something you actually give a damn about. Competition for competition's sake. Like, this was an argument I literally had with my mother till the day I died. It's like, wait, and I figured this out at 19 years old. I'm like, wait a minute. I don't care what a bunch of Chester County baby boomers who never lived outside of this suburban area of Philadelphia care. Because you know what? They don't have anything I want. So what does their opinion even mean? They have no ability to give me what I want. They're, because from, at 19, I cared about two things. I cared about one, which is something I still care about to this day, which is actually finding unconditional love, so that's got to be a woman my type who I'm attracted to, who's roughly my age. Yeah. I find a potential candidate for that about once a year, but I can't remember the last time there wasn't a third party's machinations that screwed that up for me. A third party that had nothing to gain or any shot. In one case, just, not that long, not the most recent, but the one before that, the third party didn't even want her, wasn't even into girls. The last one, the dude was into her and claimed her as property, even though girl was way out of guy's league and girl was pursuing me, That made me the demon, even though I didn't seek her attention out. I mean, I loved it. She was dead on my type. I never denied that from day one. And the chemistry was there, because we worked together. Even as early as my interview, it was kind of inappropriate, but I didn't care. Anyway, where was I going with this? Right. Breaking the chains of comparison. In other words, what do you want? What's important to you? Yeah, that's where I was going with this. So yeah, unconditional love, and the other thing was wanting to be a professional firefighter, which obviously a bunch of boomers who were retired, who live in an area that doesn't even have professional firefighters, couldn't give me that neither. So it goes to the essence of who you are. This constant theme of comparison basically is to make you believe that who you are and what you value is not important. It gets you to live a lie. It gets you to live a lie, in a lot of cases, of the narcissist, to be the person they want you to be, to be the dulled reflection of them, of the boomer parent, or to be the trophy wife, completely negating whatever you've been striving for. And if you're not striving, if you don't have what you want and you're not fighting for what you want, well, then what's the purpose? You're not living, you're just existing. So by breaking this chains of needs of comparison, you can be free to, you may have to fight like hell to live the life you want to live, but you can at least go out and fight. You know what I mean? You can fight without ever winning, but never ever win without a fight kind of thing. Yeah, everything's a struggle. But it's a psychological mindset. You have to get into that mindset of you don't care if you fit in. If the people's opinions, people who are judging you, who are not a part of whatever your end game is, they're like, you don't think highly of them. You're putting them on this pedestal in your own head. They're telling you how great they are and that you have to emulate them because they said so. They can never really give an explanation. That's how you know it's bullshit. That's how you know it's a lie. If somebody's so great and should be emulated in some way or knows so much about how to do something, they should be able to tell you how to do it. Like, in the recent few years, I've given people who have asked me, by the way, advice like going through a firefighter civil service process. Well, that's something I've successfully done more than once. So, and it hasn't changed, by the way. So I come from a place of experience, recent experience, relatively, this decade. And it's a process that remains unchanged. Like, it's not like some boom, like, well, I haven't, you should be where I'm at. Well, a lot's changed in 50 years. No, we had it harder. How? Vietnam. It's like you were born in 1957. The draft was over by the time you were 18. I had to sign up for selective service too. But my third cousin that I saw once every 3 years got drafted. That's not you. That's another boomer trick. If it happened to one boomer, it happened to them all. The collectivism is strong within the Borg. But breaking these chains, these chains of this need for comparison, to where you're comparing yourself to people you don't respect, to people who you don't want to be like, to people who have nothing that you want. It frees you and lets you know that it gives you your own validation, that your path, your goals, your wants, your desires are legitimate. And the fact that they're legitimate to you is all that you need, because you have free will. You don't have to be a sheep being led in a herd. You know what herds of sheep get led to? The slaughter. Yeah. Dragons fly free. And we spit fire if you mess with us enough. But it's about embracing that free will within yourself and realizing what it is you want. You should realize why you want it and, actually be realistic and do research in how you pursue it. But you should pursue it. You shouldn't live your life based on comparison to other people because it's crammed down your throat that, you're supposed to be like this person and have what they have. But it's like, I don't want to be like them. I don't like them. And I don't really give a fuck about what they have. Life isn't about keeping up with the Joneses. I know plenty of millionaires that are miserable alcoholics. Seriously, I spent a lot of time as a manager in, very prestigious private golf clubs. I knew quite a few people that their life was literally golf and booze. And, these guys had Porsches and Bentleys and they were miserable, miserable. Even on the golf course. If they didn't shoot like the best game of their life, they were miserable until they were half in the bag. And then they were, kind of joking around and happy. And then they kept drinking and got mean drunk. That's no way to live. Okay. Yeah, nice bank account. What are you gonna do with it other than drink and play golf? You know, I don't care to be an alcoholic, and I'm no desire to play golf. I mean, if that's your thing, go for it. I have no desire to belong to a country club. It's doesn't mean nothing to me. It's not something I'm into. So why would I strive for that? And alcoholism isn't something to strive for in any case. There were periods in my life where I drank too much. I think we all go through periods of that, particularly in our 20s. But regardless, the only way you're going to be satisfied with yourself is to have the free will to admit to yourself what your true desires are, what they are, why you want them, and then you start pursuing them regardless of what anybody else says. You go for it with everything you got, because I guarantee you, anything worthwhile, there's going to be obstacles. Nothing worthwhile, nothing with meaning or purpose is going to come to you at the right place at the right time. Things by random chance always end terribly. Learned that the hard way. It was called my time in golf maintenance. Summer job when I was 16 that my parents thought was the greatest thing in the world and basically bullied me into pursuing as a career. Now, I fought it successfully, and for those of you that have been with the channel, I'm not going to go deep into this, but for those of you that haven't, 18, graduated high school, old enough to take civil service, has to be a firefighter, got hired, top of the list, became an EMT at 17 first, going to night school, working full time, doing great, about to move, economy crashed, hiring freeze for 6 years, longer in some areas, but 6 years in most. And that's how that happened. Yeah. But you have to fight. And you have to go for it even when people are telling you not to. I mean, you have to realize and be realistic to yourself of what you can, realistically do. Like, I want to be a pro athlete. Yeah, that's great. Are you really able to compete in that? Is it something that you realistically have the capability of doing? Like, for example, if, say, you're in a relationship with somebody, and this is something I would easily do, so that's why. You're in a relationship with somebody. You could see yourself being with them for the rest of your life. They live somewhere else. You move. Duh. I would move in an instant for unconditional love. Been saying that since I was 18 years old. There might be people, particularly narcissists, that are using you for the supply. To be like, you can't leave this area. Why? Well, because they can't abuse you if you're not around. That's why. That's a comparison, because they can't use you for narcissistic supply. And my mother, the borderline that she was, even said it a lot of times when I was doing well at one time and not living in this area. Like, well, it doesn't count because it's not around here. Because the precious, narcissistic boomer club couldn't notice it. It's like, oh, well, another state doesn't matter. Yeah, only lives around here matter, apparently. How sick is that? But that's the essence of all this. Until you break the chains of comparison and stop basing your life on what others have and trying to be like people you don't like, you'll never be free. You'll always be chained. You'll always be living a lie. You'll be living a proxy life. You'll be miserable. If you're living as a character to please somebody else, it never ends well. So that is my lesson of breaking the chains of comparison. I hope that was helpful. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. If you can, please send a tip to the channel via the links in the description. I get 100% of that instead of the super likes, which YouTube takes like 60%, you greedy bastards. That ain't gonna help the algorithm, but the algorithm already hates me. So like and subscribe, send this video to people you think it will help. Just, don't claim to be me doing it. I have a Patreon that isn't doing well. There's links on it in a couple of videos. I should probably put that in this one too if I can find it. Anyway, try to support the channel. Things not good right now. So hope that was helpful. Seek free will, never stop fighting. And well, I guess if you stop fighting, that means you submit, which is what I'll never do. I'll keep fighting. Hail Lilith.